All right, so the last thing we covered in 7-7 was the determinant of a 3x3 matrix, which was number 4. So one way to do it, it's not the only way to do it, but I think in my experience of teaching, it's the easiest way to do it, is to take your first two columns and duplicate them to the right. So this becomes 2, 4, 4, -1, 2, 2. The biggest piece of advice I can give you there is be super careful because, again, you write one wrong negative, one wrong number, and the whole thing's wrong, okay? So then we do the diagonals and we go like the fish. We go top right, bottom left first. Or sorry, top left, bottom right first. And multiply down along those diagonals. So 2 times 2 times 1 would be 4. And then -1 times 1 is -1 times 4 is -4. And then 0 times 4 times 2 is 0. And here I actually get 0. 4 minus 4 plus 0 is 0. Thank you. Then you go back the other way. So my diagonal then goes top right, bottom left. And again, you multiply along those diagonals. 0 times 2 times, God bless you, times 4 is 0. 2 times 1 times 2 is 4. And then -1 times 4 times 1 is -4. And I actually get 0 from this as well. Then, if it wasn't 0 and 0, I would make sure carefully to take this one minus this one. So 0 minus 0 is still 0. 0 is an answer for determinant. Okay, it's not like it's no solution. It is an answer. When we get into the application of it, you'll see that that is important when it's 0. But for right now, you're just trying to find the determinant. Questions on 3x3? So let's talk about what's going to be covered on your quiz, which is tomorrow. Your quiz is going to be 7-5 to 7-7. Okay, 7-5 was your introduction into the operations of matrices. So this was adding, subtracting, and then multiplying matrices. Remember that the rule for adding, so you can only add or subtract if dimensions are the same. So I can only add a 2x2 to a 2x2. I can only subtract a 2x2 from a 2x2, okay? You cannot add a 2x2 and a 2x3, for example. So if I gave you A was 2, -1, 3, 4, and B is -6, 2, 4, -1, and C is -1, 3, 4, 2, 6, -2. And then here's some examples of what you can do with these, okay? So in that first one, it says 2A plus 3B. So I would first multiply 2 times my A times each of those, and I'd get 4, -2, 6, and 8. And then I can either add the 3B, multiply the 3 on the inside there. So plus -18, 6, 12, -3. And then if I want to add, I would just simply add each cell. 4 plus -18, which is -14. -2 plus 6, which is 4. 6 plus 12, which is 18. And 8 plus a -3, which is 5. So these should be easy questions. Silly mistakes get made when trying to do things in your head. Okay, and without work, remember, no partial credit. So if you're doing 2A plus 3B and you're trying to do that in your head, that's when silly mistakes get made. I know you guys are super smart. Sometimes you are super lazy, and sometimes that bites you in the butt. All right, 2A minus 3B. So I already did 2A. It was the 4, -2, 6, 8. I already did 3B, -18, 6, 12, -3. This time I'm going to subtract. So I would do 4 minus a -18, which becomes 4 plus 18, or 22. -2 minus 6, which is -8. 6 minus 12, which is -6. 8 minus a -3 becomes 8 plus 3, or 11. Still good on these? Okay, then A plus C. So A is a 2x2 and C is a 2x3. Can you add these?
No.
No, so this cannot be done. And if it says explain why, you could say different dimensions. or you cannot add a 2 by 2 and a 2 by 3. Questions on adding or subtracting or the scalar multiple? Okay, then comes multiplying. So A times C, I'm just going to rewrite them down here on the bottom. 2, -1, 3, 4 is A. C is -1, 3, 4, 2, 6, -2. This is a 2 by 2. This is a 2 by 3. So remember, the rule for multiplication is the middle numbers have to match. Middle numbers must match. So 2 and 2 match, which means I can do it. The outer 2 is your result. So my result is going to be a 2 by 3. So that first cell is row 1, column 1. I multiply row 1 and column 1. So I would do 2 times -1 plus -1 times 2. I get -2 minus 2, which is -4. Then I go row 1, column 2. Row 1, column 2, which is 2 times 3 plus -1 times 6. And I get 6 minus 6, which is 0. Then I go row 1, column 3. Row 1, column 3. And I get 2 times 4 plus -1 times -2, which is 8 plus 2, or 10. Then I go row 2. So this would be row 2, column 1, row 2, column 1. And I get 3 times -1 plus 4 times 2. -3 plus 8, which is 5. Row 2, column 2, row 2, column 2. 3 times 3 plus 4 times 6. 9 plus 24, 33. And then the last one, row 2, column 3. Row 2, column 3. 3 times 4 plus 4 times -2. And you get 12 minus 8, which is 4. So -4, 0, 10, 5, 33, 4. So again, I can't stress enough how important it is to show your work. So I can give you partial credit to do the alpha negative somewhere along the line, okay? Without any work and you just writing that out on the bottom and it's wrong, it is all wrong. All the points go. Yep.
What do you mean middle must match?
Like this is a 2 by 3. I mean a 2 by 2, and this is a 2 by 3. The middle two numbers have to match in order for it to be able to be multiplied. If they didn't match, then you couldn't multiply them. And remember, order of the letters is important. Like A times B is different than B times A. Questions? Adding, subtracting, scalar, or multiplying. Okay, then came 7, 6, which was inverses. So the long way around was to change this so that it was 1, 0, 0, 1. And then we talked about the shortcut for these. So with a 2 by 2, I would obviously recommend the shortcut, which is do 1 over the determinant times you switch. So if it started as A, B, C, D, then you switch the A and the D and you change the signs on the C and the B. So in this case, I would do the fish, okay, to get the determinant, which is 6 times 1 minus 4 times negative 3, or 6 plus 12, that's 18. That's your determinant. I do 1 over 18 times, I switch the 6 and the 1, and I change the signs on the negative 3 and the positive 4. Then I distribute that in. So I'd get 6 over 18, 3 over 18, negative 4 over 18, 1 over 18, which gets simplified. 1/3, 1/6, negative 2/9, and 1/18. Questions on inverses for 2 by 2. And then remember that you can check these. If I do A times B, with extra time of course, and B times A, the result should be 1, 0, 0, 1 for both of them. So again, if you wanted to check it, or if it said to verify that something is the inverse of something else, that's what you would do. And then also remember that all this stuff can be checked, right? So using your calculator on tonight's review, you can check them. For your test, you won't have your graphing calculator. Okay, then came the 3 by 3. So that's a 6. But it's a 6. Okay, so for these, there is no shortcut, right? For a 3 by 3, then our goal is to get the left side, which is 6, negative 2, negative 3, 1, negative 1, 0, 1, 0, negative 1, to then work its way to 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, our reduced row echelon form. So what's one way I could start with that 1 in the top left corner? Like if I wanted to get this to be a 1, what's one way to do it? I can switch. Are you going to want to multiply that times 1/6? Nope. Save it as long as you possibly can. Okay? So I can switch. You said top and bottom. So let's do row 1, switch with row 3. So 1, 0, negative 1, 0, 0, 1. 1, negative 1, 0, 0, 1, 0. And 6, negative 2, negative 3, 1, 0, 0. Now I've got the 1 in that top left corner, which makes this a little bit easier. I want a 0 here. How do I do that? To get the 0, to get the 6, yes, but let's say we want to put the 0 where that 1 is. I could do negative 1 times row 1 plus that one, right? So negative 1, row 1 plus row 2. Jacob, head up. Negative 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, negative 1, 1, negative 1, 0, 0, 1, 0. This is 0, negative 1, 1, 0, 0, or 1, negative 1. And that replaces row 2. Now I want a 0 where that 6 is. How do I do that? Negative 6, row 1 plus row 3. And that replaces row 3. Now I need a 0 where the -2 is. So I can multiply row 2 by -2 and add it to row 3. And then replace row 3 with that. Now I'm going to work my way back up. I need a 0 here. So I can multiply -1 times row 2 and add it to row 3. That replaces row 2. And then the last 0 I need is where the -1 is. And for that, I add row 1 and row 2. Row 1 and row 3. And that takes the place of row 1. And as soon as this left side is in my diagonal of 1s with the 0s above and below, I'm done. And the right side is the answer. So this would be the inverse to A. 1, -2, -3, 1, -3, -3, -2, -4. So just that part of it is the inverse. And again, if you had extra time, which I'm not sure you will, but let's say you had extra time, you could check this answer by multiplying your original by this and getting all that 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, and 0, 0, 1. Questions on 3 by 3 inverse. So in my opinion, that's the most tedious, okay, of the questions. It's going to be worth the most points. Just got to be really, really careful. Anybody still got me down? Okay. Okay, then came 7-7, which was determinants, minors, and cofactors. So the determinant of the 2 by 2 is what we already did. That was your fish, right? That's your determinant for a 2 by 2. The determinant of a 3 by 3 is the duplicating of the columns that we did in the warm-up. The minors and the cofactors is what you covered day before yesterday. So if I had 1, -2, -3, or -4, 3, let's just say this, and I asked you for the minors, then one at a time we cross through the number that we want to find. So if I want to find this location, then I'm going to cross through the row and the column that it's in, and what's left is the minor. If I want to find the row 1, column 2, then I cross through that row, that column, and what's left is the minor. Go to the -4, cross through the row, the column, and -2 is left. Go to 3, cross through the column and the row that it's in, and 1 is what's left. That's the minor of a 2 by 2. The cofactor, we take the minor and we change the sign on the second and the third thing. So this becomes 3, +4, +2, and 1. So you change the signs on the locations in the top right and the bottom left for the cofactors. If it's a 3 by 3 matrix, and I want to find the minor of that first location. Then I cross through the row and the column of it, and I find the determinant of what's left. So this would be 3 by 3, okay? And that first one, I would do 45 minus a negative 48. I picked pretty big numbers, but the concept is there, 93. Then I would go to the next one, and I would multiply the row and the column. Cancel through the row and the column that it's in. So row 1, column 2 this time. And I would find the determinant of what's left, which is 4, negative 6, 7, 9. And I'd get 36 minus a negative 42, or 36 plus 42, which is 78. Then I go to row 1, column 3, and I cross through the column and the row that that's in. And I'd find the determinant of 4, 5, 7, 8. And that's 32 minus 35, which is negative 3. Then I go row 2, column 1, and I cross through row 2, column 1, and I'm finding the determinant of what's left, negative 2, 3, 8, and 9, which is negative 18 minus 24, or negative 42. Then I go row 2, column 2, and I get 1, negative 1, 3, 7, 9, and I get negative 9 minus 21, which is negative 30. And then I go row 2, column 3, and I get negative 1, negative 2, 7, 8. Actually, was that a negative 1? I can't even see it anymore. Negative 8 minus a negative 14, which is 6. So when you're doing this on your quiz, my advice is to literally cross them with your pencil and then erase them. Obviously, it's hard if I erase my lines, my numbers go away and explain everything. But obviously, it's much easier to do it that way. If you're the type of person that's been using like colors a lot when you're doing these things, feel free to bring yourself some colored pencils. I would recommend erasable colored pencils if you're going to do that. The ones I have are not erasable, okay? Highlighters, whatever it is that you need to do to keep yourself organized. So when I go to this last row for that first one, I would cross through the row in the column that's in, find the determinant of negative 2, 3, 5, negative 6. Go to the next one, row 3, column 2, and I'd be using 1, 3, 7, 9. Go to the last one, row 3, column 3, and I'd be using 1, negative 2, 4, and 5. Good morning. That's the minor. And then to find the cofactors, you are going to change the ones that are in like the north, south, east, west locations. So the first one stays positive. The second one I change, then positive, change it, positive, change it, positive, change it, positive. So the only ones you change are those 4 spots. So obviously if you get the minor wrong, you carry it down into the cofactor wrong. So it's really important that you're checking that and you're doing that carefully. Questions on those? So I didn't work through the last one, but are we okay on the minor and the cofactor? Yeah? Okay, and then came the 2 by 2 determinant, which is what we just practiced, and the 3 by 3 that was on your warm-up. So your quiz review's on Canvas. It's already there. If you go, you can grab it. You've got 10 minutes to work on it here. Feel free to check your answers on your graphing calculator, but don't use your graphing calculators to get your answers because you won't have a graphing calculator on your quiz.